Have you ever wondered what your leadership style really says about you? Whether you are a natural motivator or a hands-on strategist, I'm thinking the Christopher Columbus of your organization, or even that quiet force behind the scenes. Your leadership traits tell a story. And in this video, we are breaking down the 7 key traits that define your leadership style and how your personality shapes them. Hi, welcome back to my channel. And if we are meeting for the very first time, my name is Nancy and I'm a workplace leadership trainer. I've also authored a few books, and the most recent being Lead Outwardly Loud. So you'll mostly find me here discussing topics on matters of leadership, professional growth, career advancement, all the while protecting your mental and emotional well-being. So if this is the kind of content that resonates with you, kindly consider subscribing and pressing the notification bell, and you will be notified whenever I release a new video. And to all my new and old subscribers, thank you for joining and growing this community. And if you have a topic around professional growth that you think would make you more relaxed and empowered in your role, please feel free to reach out and I'll do my due diligence to get you there fast. Your personality type plays a big role in the kind of leader that you are. That moment when you know how your natural strengths and tendencies shape your leadership traits. And some of these traits may actually be obvious to you, but some you're oblivious to it. So for the sake of this video, please check with people you trust, friends, colleagues, just to shed some light on your blind spots. And you'll also note that I've used a lot of world-renowned leaders in their different fields, and this is expressly to drive the point home with a personality type that we can both relate with. So if you're ready, let's do this. At number 7, your adaptability to change. On a scale of 1 to 10, how adaptable would you say you are? Are you resistant to change, or do you embrace it with open arms? If change makes you uneasy, then you might have a traditional leadership or bureaucratic leadership style. You value stability and control, and in your mind, structure and authority come first. So you'll find that you have a preference for perfect, tried and tested methods that actually go for the long term over regular trends any day. I'm thinking Warren Buffett, who actually follows very structured investment principles with an eye for long-term stability, or even Henry Ford, who's not necessarily big on change, but he's more focused on efficiency and control. Adaptive leaders, on the other hand, actually are open to quick shifts. You thrive on change, you thrive on innovation, you're more aligned with transformational leadership, and people will see you as an intuitive extrovert or the type I personality. An example, Mark Zuckerberg, love him or hate him, he continuously adapts Facebook to stay ahead with the times. So if you find yourself excited about experimenting with new approaches, then yes, you're more aligned with agile leadership. Then at number 6, it's all about giving feedback. The way you give feedback actually shows your leadership approach. It reveals whether you're a very assertive, demanding leader, or you are big on coaching. If someone underperforms in your team, for example, would you immediately call them out in a direct and unfiltered manner? Or are you the type of person who's actually going to use a more encouraging tone with the intention of guiding them towards improvement? If you're blunt and to the point with low regard for emotional consequences, then you might be leaning towards transactional or results-driven leadership. Your style has more to do with exerting authority rather than getting into people's feelings. And you're the type of leader who, if your team member made a mistake on a very important report, you'd be brutally honest with them with that no-nonsense approach, which means that most of the time, for the most part, your teams would be intimidated by your leadership style. And you just want to exercise caution if you fall under what they call the executive leader, because you have a tendency to be very detail-oriented, which can actually lead you to be overly controlling or even micromanaging, because in your head your way is the best, but this is also what causes friction. Why? You're dealing with human beings, and a little autonomy goes a long way. So your aversion to change may actually hinder professional growth for those who are under your leadership umbrella. And this can also make you vulnerable to competition. If you're a choleric leader, you have a high regard for excellence. So you tend to be very decisive, but you may also come across as impulsive or even aggressive in your actions. So you just want to guard against getting consumed by your strong drive for success, so much so that you become tactless with your teams, creating a very toxic environment to work in. When the team morale goes down, resentment is going to go up. And this is especially when they feel that you are insensitive to their challenges. If you're the encouraging type of leader, you're going to find that constructive, growth-focused feedback is your love language. And this makes you a transformational or servant leader. People gravitate towards you because of how you make them feel. You're the type of leader who, if your team member made a mistake, you'd actually have a sit down with them. You'd try to figure out how the situation came about and actually lead them out of the mess. And an example, Oprah would be considered a real life example because she encourages growth through positive reinforcement, all the while empowering those around her. Then for the encouragers, you may be the inspirational, you may be the nurturing, you may be the charismatic, energetic type of leader. So for the inspirational ones, much as you thrive on creativity, you want to look into your commitment to long-term plans, because your excitement can actually lead to starting multiple projects at the very same time without fully executing on them. And this can lead to unfinished and unfulfilled priorities. And it's upon you as the leader to give clear direction to your team members and minimize distractions. You do not want your teams to feel insecure because you keep changing the goals day in, day out, making it very hard for them to keep up. And then if you're the nurturing type, you prioritize harmony, you prioritize relationships, but also this can make you reluctant to address workplace drama, which is literally unavoidable, or even make difficult decisions. So imagine not confronting an underperforming team member because you're afraid that you're going to hurt their feelings. This means that poor performance is going to go unchecked, and this is going to lead to resentment from other team members. This is breeding ground for workplace tension. So considering that you value tradition and routine, you may struggle to adapt to new strategies, which can actually lead to stagnation. Here's a new project management system, for example, which actually promises to increase efficiency within your department, within the organization. But because the old one works just fine for you, you're going to look the other way. For the charismatics, you're known for your high energy levels, but also you risk acting on emotions rather than on logic, not thinking through your decisions. Considering that you're a highly people-oriented person, you love being liked, you love being around that kind of energy, which can actually leave you focused on relationships rather than results. So how are you going to hold people accountable if you do not want to be seen as the bad guy? This brings us to trait number 5, decision making. Would you say that you're someone who trusts his or her guts, making quick instinctive decisions, or do you prefer to gather as much data as possible, analyze every detail from every angle before making a move? Your approach to making decisions is actually going to define whether you're assertive or whether you're more of a collaborative strategist. Fast decision makers often lean towards autocratic, which is authoritative leadership, and strategic leadership. And you're known for exceptional execution and results-driven leadership. You have a very, very clear vision and that ability to execute plans with precision. And this is because to you, productivity and measured success reign supreme. Think of CEOs who restructure struggling companies on the brink of collapse. They cut through the chaos. They quickly implement systems that actually lead to a complete turnaround. And within a short time, the companies start experiencing major profits. You're known to get things done without wasting time. If there's a goal, you're going to make sure it's met. No excuses. The downside here is that your strong-willed approach can actually sometimes feel overbearing to your team members because you like things done your way. And this means that you will be breathing down your team members' necks, overriding their suggestions, making them feel like their input does not matter. And then people stop making suggestions. They stop speaking up. So the next time before making any decision, Try listening before you decide. Restrain yourself. Take a moment to ask for input from your team members. Something along the lines of, I have this plan, but I want to hear your thoughts first. And you might even get ideas that you had not considered. And then if you're more of a deep thinker who analyzes before acting, you lean towards visionary, strategic, or democratic leadership styles. Others consider you insightful. You don't just think about what works now. You have the bigger picture in mind, and you are trusted to make thoughtful, well-informed decisions that others might actually miss. An example, if you have a leadership role in a non-governmental organization, then you roll out a strategic plan. Others will trust that this strategy is not only going to help people today, it's going to ensure sustainability for generations to come. And your main downside may show up in the form of overthinking and possible inaction, because you like to analyze everything, and you may sometimes get stuck in your head and take forever to make a decision. So you get paralyzed perfecting a plan instead of just executing it. You know of your bosses who spend weeks researching on the best software for the team instead of just picking one and making adjustments as they go. And this is the type of delay that actually slows down progress. If this is you, try setting a decision deadline instead of endlessly overanalyzing. Give yourself a time limit to decide. Something along the lines of, I'm going to do my research for 3 to 4 days max. Then I'm going to make a choice and I'm going to move with it. And this is going to help balance deep thinking with real action. And just think of the very last time you had a big decision to make. Did you go with your gut or did you overthink it? And please let me know in the comments what your response is. And then at number 4, your approach to delegation. Would you say that you are someone who trusts your teams 100% to handle things, or you'd rather be hands-on, not taking chances, which actually makes you a micromanager? Micromanagers are mostly aligned with directive, authoritarian, transactional leadership style, because you're highly logical and structured. You think with your head, not with your emotions. You love efficiency. You love order, clear processes. You want to make sure that things are running like a well-oiled machine. You don't want to waste time. You don't want drama. You just need results. Just think of your managers who follow the step-by-step processes within the organization as stipulated in the work manual, and they keep everything on track. And people consider you hardworking and incredibly reliable. You're the go-to person in crisis management because you're great at leading your teams to success the right way. The one aspect that can actually have your team members side-eyeing you is that you can also come across as too rigid. You can come across as too controlling. You love structure, which means that you may struggle with flexibility. And here's a fact. Most company owners are going to micromanage fast. They're going to micromanage in the early days and then slowly release the brake pedals and start delegating once the systems have been perfected. So you'll find that you expect your team members to follow rules without asking many questions, which actually leaves very, very little room for creativity and other people's perspectives. If you often find yourself rejecting ideas from your team members because they don't fit your usual way of doing things, this actually could be a case of control issues. And these are the moments when you find yourself stuck with a team of frustrated members, not knowing that somewhere in there you could actually be the problem. So instead of sticking to your ways, try listening to fresh ideas before shutting everybody down. Be vulnerable enough to tell your team members, this is not how I'd normally do it, but I'm going to try it your way. Let's try and see how it works. This is just a case of building trust without sacrificing structure. And then the leaders who delegate and empower their teams are considered democratic, transformational, or coaching style leaders. And if there's one big quality that you're known for, is the energy and inspiration that you bring to the table. You know how to motivate people. You know how to boost morale. You know how to create a positive work environment where others feel excited to be part of the team. Just think of your leaders who walk into those Monday meetings and you somehow feel this surge of energy just from their smile, and they have a way of getting you energized for the entire week. These are people who you believe in people, which actually makes it easy to bring out the best in your team members. And these are the types of leaders who have this inner ability to turn a struggling team into a high-performing one just by speaking to the heart of each and every person's needs. And I personally believe that leaders should endeavor to achieve this with their team members if you want to operate in a healthy work environment. You only want to guard against seeming unreliable, scattered, distracted by all these ideas coming your way, especially in a structured work environment, So instead of chasing every new idea that is coming your way, choose one or two priorities and stick with them. Bring your team members along, something to the tune of, there are these amazing ideas that are coming, but let's finish what we started. Then let's tackle the next one step at a time, and hold yourself accountable by saying it out loud. And a great example of a leader who trusts his teams, I would say, is Sir Richard Branson. He believes in empowering his team members by saying, train people well enough so that they can live. Train them well enough so they don't want to leave. If you still feel like you struggle with delegation, then just start small. Hand over tasks that you know your team members can handle, then just build up from there. And in Swahili we say, kidogo kidogo hujaza kibaba. Little by little fills up a lot. I'm translating directly. And then at number 3, we are looking at your conflict handling strategies. Nobody loves workplace drama, but the way you handle it is going to reveal if you're a strong-willed, resolute leader or a diplomatic mediator. You just have to look at your very first instinct in a disagreement at work. Is it fight, flight, or facilitate? Some people live for direct confrontations. You believe in tackling issues head on, which would actually place you in the directive or authoritative commanding leadership category. You're confident, you're decisive, you're always ready to take action. And when you see an opportunity, you go for it with full energy, you go for it full force. So people know you to stay cool, no matter how tough a situation is, and you'll make a decision and push forward. You're seen as that fearless problem solver within the organization who can actually handle high-stakes environments without hesitation. Just imagine you experience a major system crash in your department, for example, but you have this IT manager who literally steps in, corrects the error, gets things running before the panic catches on. But now, being focused on speed and efficiency, you also want to guard against pushing too hard, coming across as too intense. You may subconsciously be prioritizing results over people, which can actually hurt relationships, which can actually hurt the people that you're trying to build. You're here pushing your team members to meet deadlines by fire, by force, without considering the burnout and the exhaustion that might actually come in as a byproduct. Instead of pushing forward at full speed, just take a moment to key into your active listening skills. Listen especially to the nonverbal cues so that you don't go beyond the limits with your team members. The peacemakers or the harmony seekers, on the other hand, will prefer to smooth things over, diffuse the conflict, find a middle ground, and you're more aligned with the servant leadership style. I'm thinking Nelson Mandela, he used diplomacy and reconciliation to end apartheid in South Africa. And these are the types of leaders who lead with empathy and emotional intelligence. You deeply understand your team members, you value meaningful connections, which means that you're big on creating that supportive, human-centered environment. These are your bosses who are going to notice your overwhelm at work, check in on you before the productivity starts going south. So considering that you genuinely care about your people's well-being, it's very easy to build strong, close-knit, trust-based culture where your employees want to stick around for years on end, maybe even until retirement. And there's an element of trust and loyalty that comes from these connections, so much so that you find that your team members effortlessly go over and above what they normally do. They go the extra mile because they know that you have their back. Being a peace lover, on the other hand, and this is a downside, can actually make you hesitate to enforce boundaries, So you want to be okay also to make hard decisions. Be kind but firm. Remind yourself that you're there to help your team members to grow. So being honest and direct while exercising compassion is way better than avoiding. And you can do something along the lines of, I care about your success, but let's see how we can put our heads together to improve on this particular situation. So you hold them accountable, but with an element of genuine care. At number 2, the way you motivate others. And here you want to ask yourself, what gets your team moving? Do you energize them with big ideas, whetting their appetite with a vision so exciting they want to take the journey with you? Your motivational style is going to reveal whether you're a visionary leader or a goal setter. If you inspire through enthusiasm and vision, you're more aligned with transformational and charismatic leadership styles. Just think of how you feel after listening to Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech, I have a dream. Inspirational leaders they have a magnetic personality that inspires and excites at the very same time. These are what I call natural thermostats. They're fun, they're engaging, they're full of energy. They can walk into a room and completely change the mood with their high energy levels, their passion, their optimism, and they have a gift of uniting people such that their teams feel like a community rather than co-workers. You only want to guard against letting your emotions influence your decisions too much. You want everyone to be happy, but this can also lead to procrastinating on difficult decisions. And in such situations, you have to try to balance emotion with logic. Tell yourself, I care about my team, but I need to make choices that are going to help everyone succeed. And that way, you lead with both heart and strategy. And if you're the type of leader who keeps your teams on track with clear expectations, structure, then you're literally big on discipline. You lean towards transactional leadership. So you'll find that you're the backbone of any organization because you're organized, you're responsible, insanely dependable. And with you, deadlines are met, meetings start on time, everyone knows what is expected of them. Though because of your love for structure and rules, you can sometimes come across as too rigid, too strict, maybe resistant to change. Just an example, the thought of remote work can actually leave you bent out of shape if it's not how you've been operating in the past. And this is where your flexibility is going to be tested. So instead of rejecting new ideas, try and ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen if I just tried them out? At number 1, your response to pressure. Stress brings out your true leadership nature. So if you generally keep your head above the water in high pressure situations, thinking through the solutions, then you're more of a resilient leader, more aligned with strategic leadership. These types of leaders are planners by nature, always thinking 5 steps ahead, making sure everything is set up for long-term success. But one of the downsides here is that you can be too distant and too hard to read, that you're not the type of person to offer constant praise and small talk. And this can make your teams feel undervalued, underwhelmed, even if you respect them. So noticing and verbalizing your team's hard work actually goes a long way. Words like, I don't always say it, but I really appreciate the input, the work that you're putting into this project. If the pressure makes you indecisive, on the other hand, you might be leaning towards consensus-driven leadership. You need input before moving forward. You lead with your heart, you bring warmth and empathy into the team, but you hate disappointing others. You hate upsetting your team members. So you end up putting other people's needs above your own and even what's best for the team. And these are breeding grounds for burnout and frustration. So the plan out of this is to balance kindness with clear expectations. Which leadership style would you say fits you best? Please meet me in the comment section for this one. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a like. Please subscribe if you haven't already for weekly leadership insights just like this one. And also, check out this video on how your leadership style impacts your mental strength. It literally goes hand in hand with most of the aspects that we have discussed in this video. Thank you so much for your company and see you on the next one. Bye.